Damn newspaper's got me on camera and I just spilled my water in front of me, so.
I can't really tell though.
Well, good. Thanks. That makes me feel a little more confident. Believe in this. I did, I'll keep talking because Walter just put the camera on me and it's stuck there because he ran across the street. I actually have some laminated printouts to give you guys, and I'm going to have Walter sort of scatter them around all the boards. Just with the open meeting law, public records law on it, front and back, so you'll each have a copy, stick it in your drawers and refer to it. And that said, guys, thank you to the mayor and to you guys for having me. Well, I kind of miss you, so it's good to see you. I know that's probably hard to believe because of some of the things I have to do in my job, but I really do miss you guys. And I'm glad to have an opportunity to be up here and visit with you about open meetings and public records because of the lawsuit, because of me moving away and not being in the middle of the street for people to duke it out with me over this stuff. This is all just sort of built into, and it's always been on the surface where this whole open meeting thing could turn into a monster that does nobody any good. I don't think that's the case with us in the city council or the community in the city council. I do think that is the case with the community and some other boards. We've certainly had some conflict that the newspaper has been involved with the city over this stuff. But it's been okay. We've been able to fight and then visit with each other again the next day, and I think move forward and I'll learn from it. So hopefully this is just the start of a dialogue. I can't be here at all your meetings. I'm always available to do this. Monday nights happen to be an open night for me. So if there's ever a need for any more of this, or if you want a discussion, don't hesitate to have Stacy set one of these up and I'll jump on a Zoom call early in the meeting, or I can come and participate via Zoom or Google Meets anytime. You guys have all received emails from me, so you've also got my cell phone number. I'll tell you, there are board members and administrators in the community who text me in the middle of meetings and say, are we going to get in trouble for doing this? And sometimes they say yes and they do it anyways, but they know right beforehand. There's no pleading ignorance.
They didn't say they didn't know.
Yes, and so it's at least honest, right? But a lot of times they go, oh, well, okay, I wondered, and so they don't. And like I said, I'm telling you that now, and it's news to you because I don't feel the need to broadcast that, but I do respect that they ask that question, whether they take the answer or accept it or not. So I don't know what specifically you have questions about right now. I'd be way more interested in talking about what you guys want to talk about than to sit here and push. I'm used to hearing about my agenda. I really do have one agenda, and that's truth and transparency. I think it's public business needs to be done in public. And I think there's very, very, very few exceptions. And I know that I'm going to disagree with everybody behind that table and that table on those exceptions from time to time, because I've sat on that side of the table. So I know that, but I think it's good if we can disagree and agree.
So let's talk about the use of electronic communications and telephone for making decisions.
Don't do it to make a decision. That's one that there's, and here, okay, so guess what? I'll go ahead and speak to this because I know there's some concern over. You guys did a great job trying to be very transparent with the whole dispatch thing, and I think, guys, guess what? I think transparency is about to produce resolution to a problem that's been eating at this community for a decade. Beneath the surface, untransparently, this has been a push and pull forever, right? I know there's some concern that there were votes taken to move forward with a compromise at the joint meeting the other night. So let me tell you right now, and this is the thing about the open meeting and public records laws. It lays out what's legal and illegal, but if you pay attention, it lays out a whole lot of remedies before anybody gets sued or fined or anything bad happens. So for an example, with the meeting the other day, that was a duly constituted city meeting because the city called the meeting and you guys were present, ran the meeting with a quorum. Now, a quorum of county people showed up as well, but there was no official. The county clerk did not send out notice that there was a meeting. The board chairman for the county commission, who is duly constituted authority, did not call a meeting and declare it an open meeting. So that was not a county commission meeting. Now here there's concern because the commissioners who attended voted and said,
They voted.
okay, that's against the law, right? Technically, yes, but the only thing that's against the law, the only penalty for what they did is that it doesn't count as an official vote. It was fine for them to do that, and maybe, moving forward, maybe they should make clear, hey, this is not an official vote, but in the interest of working with other entities who called us to this meeting, and to be fair to them and give them an indication of whether we will go along with this or not, can we see a show of hands from the county people? And count those votes, and then it's as easy, again, do it in an open meeting, it's clear nobody's trying to hide anything, and then all the county has to do is at their meeting, their very next meeting tomorrow morning, is put that on as an agenda item so the public knows it's coming, hold a discussion, rehash the discussion from the joint meeting, and hold their vote in an officially constituted meeting, and that vote then is official and binding. The only penalty for what they did yesterday is that there's no binding, that it doesn't count. It's just like it never happened. Now, if they go to try and hide that vote, which would be stupid, it was on film, then all of a sudden, then you can get into stuff where people have to sue you to find out what you voted for and why. But there's no interest in that. We can tell. Thank you. It was done openly. They plan to continue with open deliberation. So like voting on things on cell phones, we say don't do it because don't do it. But truthfully, if you did it and then came to the very next meeting and said, hey, I discussed with so-and-so on the cell phone, so-and-so and so-and-so in 5 different conversations, and everybody seems to agree that we should do this. Again, put it on the agenda, discuss it at the next meeting. Don't send a group communication. We did get that out of this lawsuit. Group communication for the deliberate purpose of conducting public business is illegal in Wyoming. So just don't do it. But again, man, I'd way rather if somebody makes a mistake, if, this is an emergency, so it justifies it, and somebody does, come clean right away, and it's really easy to remedy it without having to go through all the motions. I can certainly see where someone would feel like, oh, I know it's the law, but this is important, I have to do it. I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, but if it does happen, one, call the newspaper right away. We'll tell everybody. And then say, we're holding a meeting tomorrow to do it all in public and tell people why we did it. Greg?
Mr. Bonnar, one thing I'm working on is stakeholder meetings, primarily with projects. The next one will be the landfill 1 remediation project. We have a meeting set up for June 21st. I know if we have more than 3 council members, it's a quorum. But honestly, the council members should be at this meeting to hear what is being said from the EQ, Tri-Hydro, and myself as far as the project. How do we get around?
Provide public notice.
Yeah.
Make it a public
I'm just looking for clarification for myself, so I can provide the.
I'll go ahead and again tell you there's 3 or 4 different remedies or solutions to what you're talking about, Greg. The first and cleanest is to just go ahead and ask the mayor to call a special meeting and advertise it. If you feel it's important enough that the whole council should hear it, ask the mayor to call a special meeting and advertise it. Not an emergency meeting, a special meeting, give a week's notice to people. And I don't say that because you have to advertise it in the newspaper. You get your new website, it's going to be even easier. You can put it out there. But yeah, that's the cleanest, no questions asked, okay? The one thing I encourage the city, again, this is not this council, this is not this administration. Previous administrations have used committee meetings, and not just city. As a matter of fact, city's better than many, but across the state of Wyoming, people deliberately avoid holding a quorum so that they don't have to tell people what they're doing. And when that gets done over and over, newspaper people start to get suspicious. Naturally, suspicious community members start to get suspicious. So one thing I'd encourage is in committees committees serve a purpose. I think they're great. I've served on committees, but no, and you don't set them up with quorum so you don't have to notice them every time, but put it out there. Put it on your website, put it on the door, schedule your committee meetings far enough in advance so you can let the public know when they're going on and invite the public to them.
So,
And then, if you have 3 council people sitting up here as a committee, and one happens to come in and sit down there, then declare yourself a member of the public, and just make dang good and sure you participate as a member of the public and are just asking questions and offering input, instead of up here making motions and calling for votes.
We were told when I first got on the council that we could, so we were having a committee meeting, anybody else that wanted to show up could
that
come.
was wrong.
Well, that's what we were told. I'm not saying it was right
That's
or
a
wrong.
fact.
So we,
No, guys, I'm telling you, right now, it's, again, this,
no,
because the
I'm not
law's
saying
not.
that yours is, I'm just saying
Right.
that that's what we did at that time,
We
you
can,
know?
sure, you can play gotcha too, and you can play gotcha with anything you want. If everybody's showing up at every committee meeting and they're just de facto city council meetings without public notice and everything else, the newspaper's gonna ask questions, write stories, and source
Well,
citizens.
since Pam's been the mayor, we haven't
No,
done that.
and that's what I'm saying, but you carry baggage with you from the past, everybody does. You carry baggage from what other boards do and don't do. But you, as an elected official, Ty, you are also a member of the public. It's just like, I've seen boards do this. You know, I'll bring up Roger, I guess is the easiest example. When he was here as owning the ambulance company, had to completely left the room anytime those discussions happened, declared a conflict and left the room anytime those discussions happened. Well, I think the city of Newcastle and the citizens are seeing that being overcautious, because really all the law says is leave that chair, come out here, be a member of the public, declare yourself a member of the public, declare your conflict of interest, but stay in the room and participate. Because what happened with our ambulance service discussions by the city council for years and years? The biggest expert on ambulance and emergency medical service left the room for the conversations because he was trying to do the right thing. So Ty, if you're an expert on something, but you're not on that committee, then just make it dang clear. And you know what? Sometimes the citizen's going to question, you can't, people are going to do that, guys. People are just going to do that. But at the end of the day, you're public servants. Your instinct is to serve the public and do the right thing. And if you're sitting out there and making it clear that that's the role, that you're acting as a private citizen, which you're private citizens first, city councilman second, so you have that right and responsibility, just be clear about it. Because I really do hate that. Oh man, if you show up, that gotcha game that they played over there. Those guys, but one commissioner showing up where 2 commissioners already were, I think they probably went a little far with the discussion for there being 3 of them there, but there was no intent to break the law. And it all came up at the very next meeting. I mean, that's the big one, guys. I mean, when boards make mistakes, the absolute immediate best remedy is to come clean with all of it at your very next meeting. And it really, that takes care of, that makes most of it go away. At least legally, you're not going to be culpable.
So I think we need to add something to the agenda tonight in regard to the siren.
It's gonna be under my report.
Okay, excellent. Because I'm just not comfortable when there's, when they ask for a consensus on an issue, and I usually try to avoid answering emails in those regards. So,
But I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but I think you've said enough that I can guess. Right? An escaped prisoner, that's an emergency situation. People think in emergencies, and to be honest, I'll hand these out to you guys. Open meetings and public record laws do allow for some leeway in emergencies, but mostly that leeway does serve to just confuse people, and sometimes the line ends up getting broke. But again, if you guys operated in a gray area today because the community faced an emergency, you've got a perfect opportunity here in the next half hour to rectify it and hold all those conversations publicly. You fix the problem before anybody knows the problem even existed. It really doesn't get any better than that. I mean, if government could operate at that level everywhere, I think we'd all be happy. So,
I got a question. Now, there's a difference between being a public official and we sitting up here and passing ordinances and the daily business of a city. I mean, you know, like Stacy does businesses and the mayor does business for the city all the time. If they want to ask us our opinion about something and we give it to them, that's not a meeting. That's the daily business. Putting up a siren, that we didn't have a, you know, so what?
Well, yeah, I don't know if that, you know, that probably didn't require council action.
Honestly, I just want to know.
Sure.
So the situation is that we had a siren that needed a pole replaced. The electrical company was here. So it was, okay, do we have a consensus of doing that? Is there anything wrong with that?
Gosh dang. No, I mean, it would fall under emergency resolutions. I mean, again, here, you're holding a conversation 3 hours later.
But what
You're making,
No, this was last week.
Oh.
Emergency management.
This wasn't anything to do with the deal today.
oh, okay.
Emergency management had a grant for sirens. And a committee was to get together to determine on where to put that siren. But since the committee didn't get together to put the location of the siren, as they were
Right.
working on other sirens, they wanted to know if it was okay to just replace the pole that one of the sirens was at.
Okay. So, and this is where I say, man, I hate talking about the legality, and Mr. Hughes is better situated maybe that, because I don't want to tell you broke law. So here's the thing, but that was my point with the Open Meetings and Public Records Law. I don't want to tell you what you did was live, because it's another one of those gray areas, and I don't care. You're now talking about it on camera, and you are going to make that decision officially here tonight. You are making the decision officially here tonight. From Stacy's perspective, she wanted input. I don't even know if it was, here's one of the things that they'll tell you, okay, because it is kind of hard to navigate all this stuff and stay completely clean. You know, as Stacy becomes more accustomed to her position and is in it more, she's just going to do this stuff and not asking. And honestly, that's what they say in board governance. They say, you lay out for your people, hey, you have the authority to do this and this and this, and basically ask for permission. That's the best way for government to work, right? This is still relatively a transitionary period for her as full city clerk, I'd say. And these questions are just always going to be there. So no, and that's the other, somehow I and the Newsletter Journal are the Open Meetings Public Records cops because of the dang ridiculous way the law is written, because it's not a criminal offense, it's a civil offense. So apparently nobody in Weston County sues people for this except for me. So what I can tell you is how the Newsletter Journal would view this and how we would portray this to the community. And I would sit here and go, hey, thanks for bringing it up right away at the meeting. Thanks for ratifying your decision, making it official. Thanks for making it clear to the community that you weren't trying to hide anything or act in secret. Now, if Stacy starts coming in every meeting with a list of 3 things that she's texting me about to ratify, I'm probably going to call my friend Stacy in the United States. That's probably getting a little loose with it. So, no, these things happen. Thanks for fixing it tonight. Some other citizen might get bent out of shape over it, but from the newspaper's perspective, sometimes things happen. Thanks for asking the question. Thanks for fixing it tonight. That's transparency and that's honest. Sometimes that's the best you can do, guys. Follow the spirit and intent of the law. And I'd say you're trying to do that here.
So what I got out of that is it's generally just not a good idea to ask for a consensus from the council members.
Unless you really feel like you need to. But I think this was a situation where you did, right?
It was just the right time, and it needed. It wasn't where we had the next meeting. That's something you would call a special meeting about, and then you have the expense also.
This may be something. This may be something that we have a discussion with Brittany, or if you go somewhere else for the website, about putting an immediate pub. This is something I think we could set up. You could ask Pam for an emergency meeting, which she could declare an emergency electronic meeting take place in 1 hour, and everybody log on just to vote. Call the meeting to order, log on, vote. Call the meeting. Technology may be possible to make this less of a gray area and actually let you handle situations like this completely legally. Because the one thing I'm afraid of is telling you that was illegal. No, don't do that. Because the one thing the Open Meeting and Public Records Law is not meant to be and I hate when it gets branded with this, it is not meant to make things more expensive and make them take longer. And if there's an opportunity to save citizens money, and because you have to act quickly to do it, because there's a situation, I don't want these laws to keep government from being able to serve citizens in that way. So I'm always going to try and find a way. If you call and ask me, I'm always going to try and find a way to help you do that legally to satisfy the paper that the effort was made. And like I said, honestly, you guys upgrade yourselves with your website and everything. There may be a way to where you can call emergency meetings and actually have them take place pretty quick, to where you can get this done. And because we've also seen from the lawsuit that meetings do occur electronically, that is defined as a meeting. So all you have to do is call it legally and publicly, and let the public view and participate in it, which you can do through your own website. So that may be something we can actually
I
fix.
feel better about a situation like that.
Yeah.
If it was done.
Yeah, and that idea just came to me, guys, so we might have to hammer it out, but I know we could do it. And actually, it'd be a way to use tech. I'm kind of excited about calling Brittany when I get back to the room, because that would be a way to make sure we're okay legally, and still not make it more inconvenient for government and people, or expensive. We don't want to do that. Anything else, guys and gals?
I think we've done a pretty
Thank
good
you,
job of
Bob. I
calling
think it
meetings
really
and
helped.
taking care of business.
Sorry, please do just remember, and I'm glad Mr. Hughes showed up, because, one of the things, there's no fair hearing on an issue without two advocates. And Mr. Hughes and attorneys who serve public boards as attorneys and are supposed to give you a certain kind of advice. When it comes to open meetings and public records, that is oftentimes going to be in conflict with someone like me who answers first to the public and not necessarily to you guys, and views those laws from that perspective. I'm going to plead their case. The attorney's job is to plead your case. And so what I would ask you to do, so that I don't end up getting in fights with attorneys, I ask this of all boards, in order to get the kind of advice that from him that won't get you in a fight with me, you got to watch how you phrase your questions. If you ask Mr. Hughes, can we do this in executive session? Mr. Hughes is a good lawyer, and he is going to give you a way to do this in executive session. Because honestly, you're his clients, and you are more exposed out here, right? But your public officials, that's going to be your job to expose yourselves a little bit. But it's his job to protect you from yourselves. So there's a conflict there, and I'm going to bring that conflict to light occasionally over this particular issue. So if you ask him, can we do this in executive session? He's going to, if he's a good lawyer, he's going to tell you that you can and why a great many times. If you ask him, how much of this can we do in public session? Tell us how to do as much of this as possible in public session. He'll do his job and do what you ask him to do there. So I'd ask that you think about how you ask for advice from your attorney on this moving forward, and that's the other way to kind of avoid conflict with the paper and the public on these laws. Because he'll give you the advice you ask him to give you. Sorry, Mr. Hughes, if I was wrong on that, please feel free to rebut at any time. But I just do not have a fight with him.
No, I think it's all pretty good advice.
Okay.
And also, I appreciate this so that I don't have to turn to it every time.
Okay. Yep. And I promise that's copied verbatim. I didn't do any edits on it or anything. Right? It's as the statute's written. So, all right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Feel free to call anytime, email. You guys all know I'd get in touch with you.